For anyone that wasn't on earlier, I'm Danielle Sturm, the Marketing Communications Manager at NEMIC, and NEMIC is a MedTech venture studio that supports startups from all over the world commercialize their technologies and fundraise for their startups in the United States. So if you are in the audience today and you are a MedTech startup, please reach out to me, as we have a lot of programs, as we are a nonprofit and do raise grants. We have a lot of programs that are usually free of cost to startups to move you forward to fundraising. I want to thank you guys all for joining us today, and this is our first MedTech Talk in partnership with Venture Cafe Providence. I will be hosting a 30-minute session like this each second Thursday of the month, right after our MedTech Innovation Forum. And during the talk, I'll be interviewing and showcasing guests from the New England MedTech space. And our guests will be sharing information through interviews, storytelling, question and answer sessions, and educational webinars. And I did mention, so next month we have a guest who is a NEMIC advisor and founder of Emerge Health, Brian Morley. Excuse me. And he will be giving a talk about navigating the customer landscape, where he will share market trends, specifically focusing on commercial and customer engagement strategies and how it's changed due to COVID. So make sure you turn into that next month. With that, let's get into today's session. So last week, NEMIC announced a partnership with the MagpieX MedTech Accelerator Fund, and MagpieX is a new Rhode Island-based, spanning all the New England ecosystem, specialized fund that is providing pre-seed capital and domain expertise to medical and digital health startups. And joining us today is Jaymin Patel, a founding member of MagpieX, and he will be sharing the pertinent information about the fund, accelerator program, and application criteria for the accelerator. There will be time left at the end of this session for questions from the audience, so please engage with us through the chat or audio at the end if you have any questions to get those answered. So Jaymin, I see you're on. I will turn it over to you now.
Great, thank you, Danielle, and good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see all of your faces here. And do feel free to just jump up and ask questions throughout this next session here. It's much better if it's interactive. In fact, is it possible, Danielle, for people to ask questions throughout, or?
Yes, we can do that if you're
That's
interested.
Great. Okay, good. Well, look, first of all, let me start by thanking two people for getting us here. It's always good to have a great team to support you. So let me first of all thank Danielle and May for all of their hard work in establishing MagpieX. This is the result of many, many months of discussion and undulations in why we ended up with MagpieX, which I will talk about. And I also say that I get the benefit to talk about MagpieX, but really all the work was done by my partners who are all on this call here today. So I will certainly invite Lydia, I see, Aidan, I see, Alan, I saw as well earlier, to jump in and answer questions as well. So I see also some friendly faces. I think I saw Jim Leach on the line. Is that you, Jim? Nice to see you. So look, after some discussion internally amongst ourselves for a long time, we decided on this notion of MagpieX as a fund to accelerate medtech businesses in Rhode Island. We went through several iterations of Magpie, and part of our thinking here was to create a venture capital fund that could invest in mid-stage businesses that are pre-seed, Series A, and afterwards. But as we delve deeper into the thinking behind this, we really felt that a big need here in Rhode Island, in this area, is helping entrepreneurs and founders take the initial steps from an idea to getting it to the market. And we all have different experiences on the team that I will talk about, but that's a core need that we found. There are so many wonderful ideas between the universities that we have, the companies that we have in town, the hospitals, and just the smart people that we have in this city, in this state. And you hear many of the ideas, but we just lack an infrastructure where the founders can go to a group of people that have some capital, which is required, but more importantly, have expertise in helping them shape the idea and really taking it from an idea to a company. And so we felt that MagpieX would be a very good forerunner to an ultimate venture capital fund, which we still have in our minds. but the immediate need was really standing up a number of these wonderful ideas that we have seen. So MagpieX consists of a number of people who have tremendous experience in all walks of, medtech, finance, in my case, running, a couple of global businesses, and helping entrepreneurs and people build businesses. And we felt this great mix of skills. We have two practicing doctors, both surgeons on the team who have been very actively involved in medical tech investments, as well as investments in biotech companies in their careers. And so we felt it was an amazing mix of skills that we could bring to the table. So with Aidan, Lydia, Adi, Paul Akerman, Prakash Sampath, who are not here today, Alan, who's on the line here today. I think I mentioned Lydia, of course, great support from Danielle and May. We think we have a really good team that can help shepherd entrepreneurs as they come through. And in particular, I want to say that Aidan, comes from a great background. As of course, Aidan is a founder of Zymedica, knows the product development process, the FDA process is better than any person that I've certainly met in my career. And Aidan really also brings to the table a very quick read on whether an idea is going to make it or not. And sometimes you have to be very direct and you have to help the entrepreneur understand that it's a good idea, but it's not going to make it in the commercial markets. And given Aidan's deep background at Zymedica, I think that he brings that to the table. Of course, with our two practicing docs, Sampath and Akerman, they've used many products in surgeries, and they're around these discussions all the time. So I think it's a good team that we have put together. We are not looking at biotech businesses, because biotech businesses require these are businesses that start with biologics. These are businesses that require substantial amounts of upfront capital. They have a 2, 3, 5, 10-year process to develop, the molecules and go all the way to, phase 1 or pre-phase 1, phase 1, phase 2 testing. And that's just not, that's not where we think we could add the most value. Where we think we could add the most value is in the broad area of medtech. And if you go to our website, I think we've been quite thoughtful about defining what those medtech areas are. And they're things like medical devices, diagnostics and imaging, digital health. As you're probably well aware, there's a lot of work taking place in what I refer to as the horizontal healthcare space, where you have digital healthcare companies that are connecting together private and public healthcare. And in fact, I just, for many of you who don't know, I just launched a SPAC recently with a number of colleagues looking at much larger deals to take public. But the reason I mentioned it to you is that there's a group of people in Rhode Island who have had a very successful startup, and they sold that business to Virgin Pulse a number of years ago. They're in the process of looking at a digital healthcare SPAC. So the idea of this vertical layer of healthcare coming together with with interfaces across the horizon, I think is becoming very, very real. We're looking at wearables, and we're looking at drug delivery mechanisms. We think that all these categories of ideas are ideas that you can take from idea to development of a business plan to the first prototype in a reasonable time frame, a 12 to 18 month time frame. And we think that we can really help. I mean, there are some practical things like raising money, developing a business plan, finding people who can help the entrepreneurial team take it to the next level. These are all the areas where I think there's a lot of value that the MagpieX team can add. And of course, Lydia and Aidan have also been very busy in the last couple of years building NEMIC, the New England Medical Innovation Center. And that also was a significant part of our thinking, because the expertise that NEMIC has built in taking entrepreneurs, medical professionals through a multi-step education process on what it takes to launch a medical company it has been, I think, instrumental in our thinking here. So that gives you, I hope, a broad understanding of who we are, what we're trying to accomplish here, our financial model or our investment model, which was really pioneered by Lydia, is to offer the entrepreneurs the ability we invest some cash. So every deal, we can invest some cash, but we also invest a substantial amount of money in-kind services. So we devote our time, we bring to bear the resources of NEMIC, and those are all valued as part of the investment that we make in this business. And we think that over a 12 to 24-month period, we can prepare a business to be investable. So in investment circles, you hear a lot about this term: is the company investable? There's a lot of meaning behind that. I mean, does it have a sustainable IP? Is there a product market fit? Do we think that it is going to be market ready in a reasonable time frame? All that goes into the calculus of if the business is investable. So our job is to make sure that we are helping the business get to the point of investability, and that's where our connectivity with a number of venture capital funds that can put pre-seed money in, and maybe even more than pre-seed money into the business, comes into play. A handful of relationships we've developed already. Many of you have them as well in the New England, Boston, Cambridge network, but we are developing those relationships further. So it's starting in a very early stage, shepherding, taking them all the way to introducing them to people that have the ability to invest larger amounts of capital. So let me stop right there, because I'm probably speaking way too much, and ask Lydia or Aidan or Alan to jump in if you would like, and add some comments.
So I'll go very briefly. When Lydia and I kicked off NEMIC, we researched an area which we'd seen in our careers significantly, which was entrepreneurs didn't know what they didn't know, and that damaged their ability to move forward. And so the programming that we built out at NEMIC is I'm going to say very strong, but we've been fortunate in seeing companies now from all over the world, and we're engaged in India and Korea and Scotland, all over the place, dealing with these common problems, as well as the bulk of our work is within 60 miles of Providence. And it became really clear that the thing that we lacked was that little bit of firepower and fuel to get the companies off the ground and hire the specific professional needs that they might have. It could be a regulatory advisor, it could be reimbursement, to move them to that next step and hit the investability quotient that Jaymin mentions. So we were incredibly fortunate when our conversations sort of came together to say, okay, if we've got this and we've got that, then we've got something that can be really, really useful. And as Jaymin alluded to, within the small group that we have, we've got some real some diverse knowledge base. And then within the network that NEMIC has created, we've got a significant knowledge base beyond that as well that we can deploy. So we're really excited about this. I went to RISD. The last thing I ever thought I was going to be doing on close to my 60th birthday was starting a MedTech fund to help companies, but it all seems to make perfect sense, and we're really excited to see where this journey takes us.
And also briefly,
sorry, go ahead.
If I may add briefly, we're very confident in this business model. For the last 3 years with NEMIC's assistance, there are quite a few companies in the fundraising stage, but at least 3 companies have raised in between $1 and $3 million. So we are more convinced than the startup company with additional funding mechanism that we can continue to promote the interest of the startup company in the ecosystem.
And we're getting a couple of questions here that's probably worth addressing to the group. I mean, one of the questions that Danielle just actually answered is, and we can expand upon this, is the program only focused on New England startups? I mean, I think the idea is certainly, the answer is no. We are inviting ideas from everywhere, including some relationships that we have in Korea and India. But we do want to nurture the ideas in New England. So the idea can come from anywhere, of course, but one part of the benefit of having the group of us here is that we can meet with people and really help them to drive the idea from Providence or from New England more broadly.
Jaymin, if I could just add, this is Alan. Yes. If I could just add, one of the things that we look to do, and Aidan hit it exactly right, getting these companies commercialized is critical. The second step, once a little bit of traction, is the funding of these companies, not pre-seed, but post. And the angel community in New England is pretty tight, and many of us are involved in that. So we anticipate as these companies start to become successful, that we'll be able to plug them into the angel community within New England, so that when there's funding needed, there'll be multiple angel groups that can help to facilitate the commercialization of the companies.
We should maybe just talk a minute about, I don't know, Lydia, if you want to, or May, talk about how to submit ideas.
I'll ask May to cover that subject matter.
Hi, everyone. I'm May Petrie. And so the application process is pretty simple right now. Everyone should have gotten a link to our website, and you can access the application right on there. It will take you to a survey link, which will provide an NDA, and then you can kind of go through and answer some various questions about your technology. And we actually have a very specific survey we use, which kind of unravels your technology from an investor's point of view. So it really helps us understand quickly what the technologies are and what value they are providing.
Can I add as well, this is, we accept applications on a rolling basis, and the accelerator is not cohort based. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, May, we're accepting up to 10 startups this next year. And it is a 3-month program once you are accepted.
Are there any questions or comments?
I'm just going to briefly comment that I noticed that Naomi Freed is online, and Naomi has I just read today, has started a fund focused on early stage startups out of the Cambridge area. And this is really exactly the sort of fund alongside the ones, the angel groups, etc., that we intend to feed. So we have been, even just in the short time that we've been going, we've been speaking to a number of funds where the Magpie training ground, if you will, and will become useful to those funds. It's all about getting the pipeline flowing, and in over our career, just seeing how often great concepts were stuck at the first gate and figuring out how to move them on. I noticed that our partner Prak has just come on. He's in
hi, sorry about being delayed, but
no, he's in
somewhat
his
delayed. I apologize.
Dress, and so maybe you'd like to say a few words, Prak.
Well, I'm excited about this launch. I'm excited for the participation. I appreciate all of you having an opportunity to hear about us. If it hasn't been said already, I do think we have an extraordinary team. I think Aidan and Lydia bring incredible know-how to this from their experience in starting at a very early stage. Jaymin, who's on the line, I see, has a lot of experience in fundraising and obviously management and organization and so forth. Myself and Paul, I don't know if Paul is on the line. We hope to bring to this effort our scientific knowledge. Both of us have an entrepreneurial background, but obviously we're both practicing physicians, and very excited to be part of this group to try and vet these companies very early stage. I think that we've been doing this before we formally launched for about a year, I would say, Aidan. Back and forth, listening to all kinds of pitches, and really trying to hone down our the kind of companies we're looking at. And this spot, I think, is very much a very, very interesting zone, the zone to get involved in, which is very early stage, a lot of enthusiasm, and I think a lot of input we could put in for companies. So I appreciate you being on board and listening to our launch here.
Awesome. I have a few questions in the chat, Jaymin and team, and the first one is, how large is the fund? And I think that can be answered too, of how much we invest in each startup.
Off mute here. The fund is starting out at roughly $500,000. I mean, it will build up to that, but we'll get there very, very rapidly. And our investment per idea is going to be in the range of $100,000, which is a combination of cash and in-kind services. But we can go higher than that if the idea is large enough and is already advanced. So, but we'll make the first decision first, which is make the first investment decision about starting the investment in cash and in kind. And there's no reason why we wouldn't be able to sustain investment in the future if we felt it was a good enough idea.
I have another question as well, and I think maybe May could answer this one easily. So when is the start of the program? So applications are open now, and it's on an individual basis. So once you apply and are accepted, what is the timeline once the application is approved?
Each program will be individually curated, so we hope to get back to everyone within 30 days of submitting an application. We'll have a in-depth screening with our whole team to review, and then let you know after the 30-day mark if you have been accepted or not. Then we really work with those startups to create an individualized plan, but we hope to start them ASAP because we want to help as much as we can and as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Can I note, sorry, Danielle, can I just note that we built this sort of quite specifically after doing some work that was supported by Commerce Rhode Island, where we just saw this need for very specific uses of money that would never, they were very rarely the same in each case. And so the idea behind being a rolling model rather than a cohort model is that we wanted to drill down into each startup and sort of identify and prioritize the next steps. And in part because the diversity that we expect to see and that we've seen over the last couple of years at NEMIC has been so extreme that you can't sort of pack them all into one group together. They have to be sort of constructed their own way. And that also, I think, it means that the use of funds can be really, really, really efficient. And we're obviously going to, with the funds that we have available and the knowledge base we have available, there are going to be companies that might not fit today and might fit later. But our goal is each time is really to shape these crews up and have them so that they're then ready for that, for going in front of those angel groups, of which again I think in New England and in Rhode Island, we're fortunate. We've got very knowledgeable angel groups who are looking for well-qualified startups. And so as a part of this feeder system, if we're dealing with each one individually, we then are able to give them a much higher value service and ongoing opportunity.
And I have one more question. I'll direct it to you as well around the fund. And this is also something we do at NEMIC. Christopher said much of the struggles that he's seen from startups at this stage are around finding the right founding group or the subsequent first hires for that startup. Do we focus at this through this program or at NEMIC? And have we had success with some of those matchmaking challenges?
This is a great question, and one of the fact is you're going to look at the team very early on and figuring out how that team should be put together, who should be contract, what are the pieces that you can what's the knowledge base that you can buy on a contractual basis, who do you need to have on board right away are key decisions. And I can't tell you the number of companies we've seen where one of the first areas that we'll go ahead and address is the team. We run a MedTech leadership program, which is training folk up, but at the same time, one of the challenges that we need to recognize is that there are a lot of the best startups, concept startups, are coming out of areas where individuals are not going to leave their day job, and so you sort of have to repack the entire thing from there. And I'm looking at some friends online who I can look at Sean Nahan, who's got a tremendous technology brewing. He's got a day job. He's got a pretty significant day job as well. So these are some of the dynamics that we have to address, and it is there are lots of good people. There are lots of good people about, and we do have a sort of matchmaking component coming out of this.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I believe that brings us to the end with 1 minute left. So I just put a link to my LinkedIn. So if you have any questions about NEMIC or MagpieX that you'd like me to triage out to someone who can answer it, please connect with me. Otherwise, you can also find our websites that I dropped in the chat to apply to MagpieX. And I want to thank also the Venture Cafe team for allowing us to host this first MedTech Talk. And I'm really looking forward to do more 30-minute sessions in the future. So thank you.